Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ori and the Blind Forest All Cells No Restrictions semifinals. We have Game 3 today between Shed and Raziel. My name's Rory Rai. I'm joined by Athos. How's it going, Athos?
It's going amazing. We have an amazing matchup on our hands, number 2 seed versus number 3 seed. And if the past two games say anything about this, then this will be another extremely close match, and I'm really excited to watch it, Rory.
That's right, so am I. If anyone out there has missed Game 1 or 2, I would highly recommend that you go watch it. They were both incredibly close races. I'm looking forward to this Game 3.
I'm curious if any of the runners took the time to practice maybe some of the things that they had trouble with, if they made any readjustments, or they're just gonna keep playing the game they've been playing. They kind of know how each other play. They've seen what they're capable of, and yeah, they had a couple days to make some adjustments, and we'll see what comes out of that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because I know in the first couple games we saw, for instance, Shed would take this early lead, and then Raziel started pulling it back towards the late game. I wonder if we're going to see any sort of adaptations based off of those first two games.
It's difficult to really get a lot of practice done in a few days, but they're both very strong players, and perhaps they were able to make some changes.
Yep, so we will have to wait and see. We should be getting some stats here. Again, both of these two are incredible. Raziel actually, I believe, PB'd in his last race with Shed, or in game one. Yeah, it was game one, wasn't it?
Yep, it was in game one, 38-40 something, which is a very, very good time, not only in the race, but in general. So yeah, Shed is going to have to put up a strong game to contest with that, but they are more than able to do that. They are also very, very strong in all cells.
Yeah, I think both of these two were playing incredibly close to their PB on the other days. And those two games, again, I really hope that that's an indicator of good things to come in this game.
Definitely. This is Ori and Blind Forest, and catastrophes can happen, especially in the volatile category like All Cells No Restrictions, where clips can go wrong and you can lose a lot of time because of that. However, that's why backups exist, and these players are both really, really good at not making those mistakes, so hopefully that doesn't cause any of them any trouble.
Yes, and it looks like we will be getting underway in just a minute here. We've transitioned over to the runner screen. They're getting ready to kick off. I really want to see a close race here. I'm looking again to see how this early and mid game goes, because I think based off of the last two races, if Raziel can keep pace in this early to mid game, he's got this. Whereas Shed maybe needs to pull out a larger lead than he has been in the last two.
Yeah, that could be, but maybe also Shed had a little bit of nerves last race, or in the first race, for example. They had a little bit of trouble with setting up the correct level up, and they had not enough energy in the late game, which lost them quite a bit of time. And in the second race, they failed the Horror Fields clip. So maybe some just nerves coming in and letting Raziel catch up. So hopefully that doesn't happen to Shed, because I know that Shed is more than capable of pulling a very, very strong late game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they have the potential to hold the lead if they can get it. It's just a question of whether or not they can do that in this race. Raziel, we've seen, has had an incredible late game. Only one mistake in the late game of two straight races.
Yeah, unfortunately, this mistake was kind of costly, which it probably cost him the game in the second match. He died to the laser and glades, but yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen again. Hopefully both runners can keep their composure and deliver a strong late game. But for now, we're in glades. We're in the early game. We don't have many skills. We can just kind of jump around, and yeah, there's not a lot of potential to get a lead here unless one of the runners makes a big mistake and dies. That's really the only scenario.
Yeah, and of course that's not something that we ever really hope to see. I would very much like to see these two stay as close as they have been at the end of the last two races for the whole race.
Yeah, exactly. And what I really like about All Cells is that even if you take a big death early on, it's not the end of the world. The category is pretty long, and then there's a lot of rooms to gain back this time.
Right, there's all these tricks in the late game, all this movement that can be slightly optimized, and it's just so easy to make or lose time in the mid to late game once we get our charge dashes, our rocket jumps, all of the clips start happening. There's so many chances for those time differences to change.
Yep, most certainly. Now we're going to see both runners skipping the third health cell. We don't really do that in all skills, but in all cells we're going to get health pretty quickly, so might as well skip it. But this makes this Glades area a little more dangerous. Instead of having 4 health, you just only have 2. So they must be careful because this next Bramble could insta-kill potentially. So that actually happened to Shed in the first game. Hopefully that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, if you get a little bit too close to the Bramble trying to go for that, that 2 Bramble shots, and sometimes you can accidentally hit it. Both of them get through fine. Flower skip as well, and heading down towards wall jump. They'll be looking to level up on the way out because of the Slime Genocide route and Blackroot.
Yeah, indeed. And I haven't seen Shed's XP, but IMRaziel XP looks perfect for the level up on the way out.
Yeah, and I would assume that Shed is in a good spot as well, given that they went for the flower skip, and that indicates to me that they're prepared to level up on the way out.
I think I've gone for so many greedy flower skips throughout my life. It's like, this is fine, whatever. And then you don't have XP and suddenly you lost time. But yeah, Shed is better than that, and they get the level up, no problem.
Yep, and this 13 or 11 experience here is exactly what we want to get for that Blackroot route. IMRaziel taking a little bit of a hit, vaults over the ledge into the Bramble. He's down to 1 health, so we're going to have to see if he makes any sort of safety adaptations through here. He's going to have to kill these slimes in the elbow for one.
Yep, so that's some time save for Shed, and IMRaziel was trying to gamble on any of those Brambles dropping health, but unfortunately none of them did. But after killing the last slime ended up dropping the health when it's way too late, so some time lost for IMRaziel, but nothing major.
Yep. So very slight lead pulling out for Shed right now. Nothing too major, but I want to keep an eye on this gap and see if it expands in the early game as it has done in the last 2 races.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Rory, both runners gonna pick up this extra XP to prepare for the genocide route.
Yep, 13 experience for both of them. That's pretty much exactly where you want to be. They're going to level up off of the second slime coming down into Blackroot, and then ideally they'll get down to about 55 experience when they're leaving.
Yep, so Blackroot is a very cycle-based area. There's a lot of platforms that are moving back and forth, and the main goal here is to not miss any cycles while also not dying. All these spikes do 3 damage, and since we're going for 3 HP, that means they are insta-kill, so you have to be a little careful. Even though this area is slow, it's pretty dangerous.
Yeah, and all these... Oh, there's exactly what we're talking about. Shed all the way back to the start. So that's going to be not a major time loss like we can see in the later parts of the game, but that is really unfortunate. It's going to be a bit of a setback.
Yeah, it's definitely unfortunate. As you mentioned before, Rory, Shed seems to always be ahead in the early game, and maybe this is the first opportunity for IMRaziel to get ahead, and let's see how IMRaziel can hold this lead.
Yeah, of course, IMRaziel will not know that he's ahead because IMRaziel has not been watching his opponent in these restreams, but Shed will know the state of the race. They are watching IMRaziel.
They are, and IMRaziel does make the genocide cycle on the left, so no problem there. Very well done so far. Now IMRaziel did a little manip there by waiting and to set up another platform, so hopefully that goes well for him. And Shed on the right is going to be going for their genocide cycle.
Yep, up through the lasers just fine. Does not make the cycle. That's not the worst place that you can get. That's still several seconds that they don't have.
I wonder if the death has anything to do with that. Blackroot cycles are really weird, and I would be lying if I said that I understand it completely. But yeah, maybe that kind of threw off his cycles a little bit, which can happen.
That is entirely possible, and it seems like our truck is confirming that. Blackroot is weird. I certainly don't fully understand it, but if someone tells me that it's been thrown off due to the death, I'll believe it.
Yep, and now IMRaziel is going to be doing the cutscene skip on the left. It's called the darkness skip. They're going to be leveling an ability using a save anywhere after watching the first part of his cutscene to skip the entire thing. Meanwhile, Shed on the right is going to be doing something similar shortly, except they are going to be doing some blind movement.
Yeah, so Shed is going to have a little bit of a slower time to the dash tree and a little bit of a faster time out of the dash tree.
That is exactly right, and Raziel on the left is going to be setting up for the first out of bounds on the boulder and collecting a few XP on the way to complete the genocide route.
Yep, we've just got to set up our next level up for the top of Moon Grotto area, right before the water vein. That's where we want to be leveling to get an energy refill. And all of this experience that we collect up through then is to set up for that specifically. Right now, just a slight detour to grab this health cell, and that's where we get our early game safety from.
Yep, this allows us to skip kind of the first health cell without kind of throwing away the safety out of the window. And meanwhile, Shed on the right did the great blind movement to get through. Raziel is attempting the cycle, and he makes it. That's
Oh,
8
just
seconds that Raziel
barely
saves.
too. That's going to put a little bit of pressure on Shed now. They know that Raziel has made the cycle if they're watching, and they will need to match that.
That is a very, very difficult cycle to make. It's significantly more difficult than in all skills, but looks like Raziel lost a little bit of time actually because he wasn't sure if he wanted to open the ability menu. It's it's a slightly different set of inputs than you would normally do because you don't have the energy, so you have to carry this long save anywhere all the way. And looks like Shed did not get the cycle, so that's some time gained by Raziel.
Yeah, incredible menuing there from Raziel. That was really quick. Barely even noticed it. He'll be flying up out of the double jump area after this blind movement as Shed makes their way down.
Yep, a little bit of a high five. Shed is going to be going into the double jump tree as Raziel is coming out.
So still a decent-sized gap in Raziel's favor. This is really what we would... If you want Raz to win, this is what you want to see. Because Shed has shown the strength of early game as well. Or in these past races, maybe Raziel has shown a little bit of a shakier early game.
Before this tournament, Shed was doing a lot of all skills, which are more early game based, and they got really, really good at the early game, while Raziel maybe had slightly less practice with that. So that's to be expected. And yeah, meanwhile, because of this couple mistakes that Shed made and a couple of nice moves like the cycle that Raziel made, he gained quite an advantage here. But of course, it's not over. Shed can still catch up.
Yeah, and it almost looks like Shed's catching up a little bit here, which again is to be expected based on what we've seen.
Yep, we just got an update from the truck, and there was a 31-second delta between the two runners at double jump. Maybe we can get an update soon about what the delta was at the water vein. The movement towards the water vein is very technical, and maybe Shed was able to do it slightly faster than Raziel.
Yeah, but this does bring up that sort of interesting comparison to the last two races, because even if Shed has a stronger early game right now, the early game setbacks mean that they're going to be catching up rather than building a lead.
It's interesting mentality based. Some players play better from behind, while others play better from ahead. Sometimes when you're ahead, you're kind of desperate to keep this lead, while when you're in behind, you play more aggressively and you're less afraid to lose. So maybe that will come into play. I don't know how Shed is specifically in that regard, but we're about to find out.
Yep, so Raziel did take a hit on some 3 damage spikes. He's down to 2 HP. He skipped a damage boost on the slime because of it, but no energy until he gets this level up here. Looks good, the frog doesn't snipe him. He's through the danger area.
Yep, these spikes over there actually deal 3 damage. That would have killed Raziel and sent him way back, so nicely done to not take that damage.
Shed made it through that area easily, is still at the full 5 HP. No energy, but should be fine through this zone here. Gets the frog experience. They're both heading up towards the Ginso tree.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Rory, it looks like the gap slightly decreased at the health cell. It was 25 seconds at the health cell, so Shed was able to catch up 6 seconds with a better movement. And Shed is also about to make the God Cycle in Swamp, and Raziel was not able to make it, so that's a little more time save for Shed.
Yeah, they do end up taking some damage there. Shed down to 3 HP, that should be completely fine. We have plenty of HP going into Ginso, and there's a lot of time to try to set stuff up.
Oh yeah, that was a slightly finicky skip from Shed, but they were able to get it in the end, so nicely done. And Shed will be entering Ginzo Tree as well.
Yeah, so Ginso, again, is just more of this technical platforming, more double jumping, wall jumping. We don't really pick up the good movement until halfway through this area. So for now, it's just sort of going through this section, trying to get to Bash as quickly as possible.
Yep, indeed. And looks like Shed is going to be going for the fast cycle here on the right. They're going to be making specific dashes to make sure to get by the gamers. And oh, barely slips up, but okay. Doesn't make the fast cycle, but doesn't lose any time. So no problems there.
Yep, taking this lower route is slightly faster and it allows you to set up for a damage boost later. We're preparing for a ghost door into the bash room, and we have to set up through a number of safety saves and mandatory save for out of bounds here.
Bounce, you take a save, then you move the block over the save, then you rekindle the save and reload the game, and that puts us out of bounds and allows us to just kind of fall through. Raziel, meanwhile, finished killing the mini-boss, which Shed just started killing. So the difference is about half the health of the mini-boss currently.
Yeah, it looks like we lost Raziel's stream there for a minute, but he held a decent lead, but it looks to me like it's still shrinking.
Yeah, Shed seems to be pretty close. We're gonna find out the exact time when we reach Bash. But here, Raziel on the left is going to be doing the final Ghost Door before Bash, dying and dashing towards the Bash string.
Dash and Bash are not confusing names at all, are they,
No.
Athos?
Nobody ever named Bash Dash, or vice versa.
No, not at all. So, Raziel just finishes picking up Bash as Shed is coming into the room. This has gotten a lot closer.
Indeed, and just like that, this massive lead that Raziel gathered around was significantly reduced by Shed. But now we're kind of heading towards the early, or mid-early game, I suppose, when we already have Bash, we have some movement skills. No charge dashes just yet, but the movement suddenly becomes a lot quicker, and there will be more opportunities for Shed to catch up.
Yeah, so it's going to be, I think at this point, more on Shed to keep it together in the late game. They're playing this area a lot faster than Raziel. They're gaining a lot of time here. They just need to sort of keep it together, keep doing what they're doing, and not drop time in the late game.
Yep, just play the game and don't make mistakes.
It sounds so easy when you say it that way.
It sure does. So Shed will be getting this energy cell here, a little bit of a detour, and exiting, which is what Raziel is currently doing, Ghost Door, and to the second mini-boss of Ginzo.
Yeah, there are two reasons that we come to Ginso. One is for Bash, and one is for that mandatory cell. Is one of the 60 little balls of light that we have to collect in order to validate this run.
Indeed, but we're not going to be cleaning water because there are no cells there, so we're just going to teleport out because we're only interested in the cells.
That's right, we're going to be setting up for a warp displacement. Raziel's got the pause menu open. Everything's happening behind the menu for a little bit there. He's going to regain control during the save, head over to this platform. Everything looks good so far. This should place him right over this ability cell. Nicely done.
Yep, well done, and we're not done yet. We're gonna do swamp entry now. Raz on the left is going to be manipulating this frog here to a specific position and use its shot to break some barriers. This frog could be trolling sometimes, and the shots may phase through, but looks like the first shot goes through, breaks the barrier. Now you have to double bash the second shot. First double bash is good, and second one is good. Raziel is through.
Shed actually dunks his frog, nailed the warp displacement, but sends the frog into water. Frogs are not amphibious in this game, believe it or not, and they instantly die when that happens, so that's more early game difficulties.
Yeah, looks like this trick is not easy at all. It's one of the more difficult tricks in the run. And oh, Shed falling in the water, but they're still alive. No problem. Looks like the frog is finally in there. First shot is through. Second shot, first double bash, second double bash, and oh no, it phases through.
That's never what you want to see. The frogs just sort of troll you like that sometimes. There's not really a whole lot that you can do to deal with it other than go back and get another shot.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate time loss for Shed here. Yeah, I mean, once again, it puts Raziel back in the lead. All this lead that Shed kind of took down is Raziel has it once again. So that's a little unfortunate, but as we mentioned, there's plenty of time for Shed to catch up.
Yeah, but we have to keep in mind, Raziel is minus 12 seconds from his PB. This is just Raziel playing out of his mind in this series.
Definitely. IMRaziel's made very, very few mistakes in this run specifically. I don't know if he had a better early game at any point, but they had some issues here and there. Here, IMRaziel, almost no mistakes, just plowing through.
Yeah, so Shed will have their work cut out for them to keep up throughout the rest of this run with the way that IMRaziel has been playing.
So now we're going to be doing our cell loop in Swamp, collecting a few cells because we don't actually want to come back here. A lot of double bashes here from both runners doing some double bashes to get up. Shed is going up to the cell, IMRaziel is trying to climb out of Swamp, and IMRaziel on the left is going to be heading out towards the Charge Flame Tree.
Yeah, and that is one of the so powerful things about bashing, is that we get to use it to just go all of these places that we aren't really supposed to be able to go without having to do any extra work. And it sometimes just saves a little bit of extra time. IMRaziel, a bit of trouble with that stomp peg.
When you try to do it quickly, you sometimes try to go ahead of yourselves, and that can cause a little bit of problems. Oh, and Shed on the right levels at a not so good of a time and kills the worm. It might mean that they can't really use the double bash. Oh, nah, looks like the worm responds. Never mind, it's fine.
It looked
and
like
one
he
double bash, well done.
He managed to kill, they killed the first worm, but not the second one, and the second one is what you use. It was clearly calculated.
Yeah, definitely. And they even did the one double bash, which is slightly faster, and then that's really not easy to do.
IMRaziel, that was scary.
Ooh, these spikes below are insta-kill. That is very, very scary for IMRaziel.
That was two very scary things. First, the stomp that almost killed the spider, and then almost bashing into the spikes. Either of those would have been a significant time loss to take. But does succeed getting through that area. A little bit of trouble getting the Frankie to follow him down, but is able to make it to the Charge Flame Tree.
Both runners starting to show some shakiness here in the Charge Flame split. It's a very difficult split. IMRaziel having a little bit of trouble. Shed too had some trouble bashing up the spider. So maybe they cancel out these mistakes that both players are starting to make.
Yeah, I almost feel like the mid-game is sort of the hardest segment of the run, given a lot of the things, given the challenges compared to Ori's ability to do anything.
Yeah, and speaking of the abilities to do anything, IMRaziel just leveled Charge Dash, which is going to allow us to go very, very fast through Valley.
Yeah, and that's having Charge Dash is again where I think it's sort of picks up in how fast you can go and what you have to do, but it also feels to me like it gets easier to do those things.
Yeah, indeed. It gets easier, but it also gets harder in some ways because charge dashes allow you to go fast, and when you're going fast, you can't always control it as well as you want to. But IMRaziel on the right is going to be doing a controlled rocket jump, hopefully controlled. It's going to be rocket jumping off this bird and then bashing. Or stomping, rather. There we go. Well done. And some issues here. IMRaziel burnt one energy, but he should have enough.
A little bit of weird targeting from that Charge Dash there. It theoretically targets the closest enemy to you, but sometimes the closest enemy to you is not what you think it is. And it goes in a completely different direction than you would expect, which is what happened to IMRaziel there.
Yeah, sometimes there's some weird ramps in this game in the ground. The ground isn't ever flat in this game, and when you hit a ledge, you can just go flying elsewhere.
Yeah, and meanwhile, IMRaziel is nailed fast stompless first try. Shed approaching the trick is going to opt not to do the rocket jump up to the cell. They'll just come up, climb the wall normally. But they'll head up to fast stompless, and we'll get an update on our time once we get both of these runners to glide.
Shed just had a dangerous moment where they used the double jump but couldn't quite get up to the spider. So they'll be getting the cell. Oh, the spider died. Can they damage boost? Yes, they can. And will they get the cell on time? Yes. And the stompless shot hits. Well done. Meanwhile, IMRaziel on the left is going to be doing Sorrow Bash.
Yep, does take a hit. I can't tell if it was from the bird or from the spikes, but it doesn't matter. We have 7 or 8 health here by this point in the run. It's really, really easy to just afford hits here and there. No big deal.
Yeah, a little bit scary here from both runners, but looks like they both make through.
Yeah, if that hit was from spikes on IMRaziel, then he'll be a little bit lower on health coming up to the tumbleweed clip, but he should have more than enough to damage boost through there thanks to double regroup. Whatever it's called.
I hope he remembers about it, because whatever it's called, yeah, I have no idea what it's called, but yeah, Shed meanwhile also doing Sorrow Bash and also had a bit of trouble with it. Looks like the double bash didn't quite go off, but they seem to make it up anyway. Nicely done. Meanwhile, IMRaziel on the left is going to be setting up for the tumbleweed clip.
Yep, and and there's the safety save.
Oh, the laser! It's like Shed takes a death from the laser on the right. That's very painful. That sends them all the way back to Valley, and they have to redo Sorobash. That's a painful death from Shed.
Meanwhile, Raziel first try tumbleweed clip, all the way up to the charge jump tree, just about. A little bit more movement. Shed just barely entering Sorrow again, down past the frog, has to go through this whole left Sorrow section, grab the energy cell, the ability cell, and then do the tumbleweed clip itself.
Yeah, and looks like they made it through the laser this time, no problem. Yeah, you want to cut close to the lasers, because if you wait too long, then you just lose time. But sometimes you just try to save that extra millisecond, and it costs you a death. So that's unfortunate for Shed, but yeah, some more time loss. You don't want to see that, but they can still come back. It's not over yet.
Yep, Ori is not over until it's over. Shed goes for a fast laser cycle in this section. Is so fast they almost hit the other laser. Set up for the tumbleweed clip. That should be good.
Yeah, looks like they're out of bounds. And now we're going to be doing some dashes. And appearing on the side. Nice. Damage boost doesn't kill Shed, and they are going to be moving on to charge jump. Meanwhile, Raziel is already exiting Sorrow. So a pretty good lead for Raziel.
Yeah, and Raziel at charge jump was 11 seconds ahead of PB. The current delta is 1 minute exactly, we are being told. This is absolutely insane from Raziel.
Yeah, Raziel is playing very well, and a couple of mistakes for Shed here and there really costing them some valuable time. Hopefully they can shrug it off and just keep playing the game that they can play, and yeah, if Raziel makes a few mistakes, that can give plenty of opportunity for Shed to come back.
Yeah, but I think at this point that is almost what it's going to come down to. Raziel has to make mistakes throughout the rest of the run. This is an incredible pace, and Raziel has already shown such a strong late game.
Definitely capable of doing it, but it would be really a shame if Raziel were to miss a clip or two, because that could catch Shed right back up. And here's one place that Shed will save a little bit of time. Raziel is going for a slightly different setup for this first Terra clip that he's going to be doing. Instead of skipping the cutscene, he's going to be watching it and then doing the clip from the ground, and he gets it, so well done.
Yep, and now just a little bit of a dash glide out into the void. We fall through this nothingness, and hi, it's Forlorn.
Hi, Forlorn.
We're just here for a cell, all the way at the end. Some lasers, cycles, everything should be fine. Nothing to see here, you know, just ignoring lasers.
Yeah, no one ever died to lasers, but jokes aside, Forlorn is pretty scary. A lot of cycles, the lasers are of course insta-kill, and if you die, then you can go way back to Misty depending on if you place the safety save. And speaking of safety save, Shed on the right is going to be doing the Atsu clip. I wonder if Shed will do a backup for this clip, because they know they're behind. It looks like they're not going to do the backup, they're going to go straight for it. Wait, that was some hesitation from Shed. Do you think that they missed it?
I don't
hope
think
not.
so. I think that looked like it was just some
Oh yeah, no
flub.
problem. Whew.
Easy.
Thank God.
It looked like it was just a movement flub getting off the wall.
Yeah, it looked like some hesitation to me. I'm glad the clip worked out, because I did not see them back it up, so that could have been tragic, but thankfully that did not happen.
Yep, Raziel heading out of Forlorn. That intentional damage during the teleport animation was to set up for a Terra clip at the bottom of Blackroot to get down into Lost Grove to head to the grenade tree.
And Raziel showing all those C dashes and all this quick movement. And here he'll be setting up for the Terra clip, so that means starting a save anywhere, then dashing and saving on the same frame, and then moving out of the scene so that the area unloads and taking a death. And we're through.
That is such a clean setup.
Extremely clean by Raziel, again showing that amazing mid-game.
Alright, Raziel has picked up grenade. Shed is exiting Forlorn now. This is still a 59-second delta. Shed's not gaining any time and hasn't been for several minutes now. At what point should they start getting concerned?
Well, I think 1 minute lead is when it starts being kind of big, but again, this game, there's still a couple of scary obstacles on our way. There's Grove Swim that's coming up right now, and as we've seen, it can be very scary. Shed in the first match got out with half health, so if IMRaziel was to get stuck there for a little bit too long, that might give Shed some time to catch up. But yeah, for sure, IMRaziel is going to have to make some mistakes. It's not enough for Shed to just play well. Shed is going to have to play well, and IMRaziel is going to have to make slight mistakes for Shed to have a chance to come back.
Yeah, and of course, the longer that it goes without IMRaziel making a mistake, the bigger the mistake needs to be for Shed to be able to come back.
Yeah, definitely, and IMRaziel seems to have no signs of stopping to play the great game that he is playing. And yeah, Shed is playing a very good game as well, don't get me wrong, but these couple mistakes cost him a lot of time.
Yeah, and it just is a little bit unfortunate for Shed that there were a couple of early game troubles and the death and sorrow.
Oh no, looks like Shed having a little more trouble with that lantern. We've seen that in both game 1 and 2, but yeah, so that's a little more time loss, a little, maybe the nerves getting to them. They know that they have to play really, really well to catch up to IMRaziel, and yeah, it's
Yep.
hopefully they can come back to this.
Alright, but IMRaziel has made it through the first half of Lost Grove Swim. Health looks good to get out. It just has to come down to these Crusher Cycles and the Fish Double Bashes. You don't want to drop one of these, but that looks really good. He makes it out with 2.5 health, more than enough.
IMRaziel has been extremely clean with those Grove Swim, and it really is not easy. It's enough to drop one double bash to just instantly die to the Crusher, but meanwhile Shed looked like the laser clipped him just. That's very unfortunate.
Yeah, fortunately that's not a very costly death thanks to that safety save there, but it does still take extra time that Shed doesn't want to lose right now.
Yeah, definitely not, and IMRaziel is going to be setting up for another tower clip, both runners tower clipping in their respective area. IMRaziel is going to be heading up to Grotto to clean up some cells, and that was not an intentional death, but a very, very small one for Shed. Shed trying to really squeeze out every second that they can to make up this lead, but unfortunately sometimes they just try to push it too far and take an extra death and lose those extra few seconds.
Yeah, for sure, and IMRaziel, again, another PB update is still 24 seconds ahead.
That's ridiculous.
This is insane. Shed, I believe that Shed would have to PB as well in order to keep up with this pace.
Full bash very close to the Crusher, but makes it through. Hopefully they have enough health to get out though.
Shed going for the exit swim. Double bashes are good so far, makes it through the Crushers. Gonna opt not to bash that fish.
The health!
I don't know,
It's only
and
close!
they're out.
Whew, Shed, don't scare me like that.
That was a little bit scary once that fish was left behind.
Yeah, the fish spacing can be a little bit weird, especially when you miss a double jump or a double bash like that. You don't really know where the fish are gonna be, but thankfully Shed still manages to make it out.
Yeah, but meanwhile, IMRaziel's almost finished clearing Grotto, and Shed hasn't even started it.
Yeah, the lead keeps on growing for IMRaziel. He's really playing perfectly, not giving Shed any room to catch up whatsoever.
Yeah, so finishing it.
Alright, so here IMRaziel is gonna head into Grove. Going to be going through Spider Psych. There's some really, really fancy movement that's going to be going on here, collecting those past few cells. Then we're going to be heading out into, oh, Shed, another death here.
That one looks so unfortunate too.
Yeah, and looks like IMRaziel didn't quite get the level up here on the left. Maybe, I don't know if he was too high. Looks like he was too low. He's trying to grab this few energy. So that's a little bit of room here. IMRaziel finally showing slight mistakes. you know the player is playing well when the one mistake that you can point out is missing a level up, but it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, so, but again, almost done with this section of Hollow Grove, just Horu Fields now, and then Valley, and then Glades, and that's it. Shed is running out of time.
Definitely, there's very little room, but again, these clips can be dangerous. If you miss a clip to horror, for example, on soft lock, that can cost quite a bit of time. I hope it does not happen to IMRaziel, but at this point, there's not much that can catch it back.
Yeah, I think at this point IMRaziel will have to make multiple mistakes on a clip. I think at this point even one mistake would not be enough.
And here's one such clip. This clip is not very costly to miss because you can just go for the regular route that loses a few seconds. But the setup looked good for IMRaziel, and he makes it no problem, showing no signs of shakiness at all.
Yeah, that clip is a relatively recent addition to the route, but it's nice to see that it's been incorporated by the top runners really quickly.
And looks like Shed leveled up again right before Butterclip. They had the same issue in the first run, so a little bit of time there, but yeah, it's really not about Shed playing perfectly at this point, and more about IMRaziel making mistakes. The lead is just really, really large.
Yeah, IMRaziel almost done with Hollow Grove, just has to collect this last cell and head onto Valley. That'll be another warp displacement coming up, and then Valley is really, really short to clean up.
Yeah, it is. With all these movement skills and all the energy that we collect, we can just charge dash everywhere, and Shed is showcasing the same thing on the right, making really quick work of all those spiders and collecting these past few cells. So this warp displacement for IMRaziel is actually going to put him out of bounds, and he's going to be doing some charge dashes in order to get a cell. And just like that, we fall right into the cell. Well done.
Yeah, that is a strat that we use because we don't have climb, and of course we don't have climb because of that clip that we did out of Misty to get into Forlorn. That is the only time that climb would have mattered if we had it, but we don't.
Yeah, I think grenade jumps would also be pretty nice, but aside from that, that's the one big route difference is we have to make a warp displacement just because we don't have climb. It looks like Shed's been having some energy troubles on the right. Missing the level up, of course, putting them very low on energy, but they seem to be very good at recovering from those mistakes and still playing their game even with constrained situations.
Well, it's interesting because they decided that they weren't having enough energy troubles to warrant grabbing the 2 crystal.
Nah,
Maybe
it's
just...
calculated, it's fine. And Shed is not going for the clip, looks like.
Yeah, there's no energy. They would have to place a save and then do a charge dash clip, and they don't have energy for that.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So yeah, that's unfortunate. That energy management losing them a little bit more of time, and Baneling also trolling them a little bit in the face, and yeah, that's very, very, very difficult to watch. Some mistakes here and there adding up for Shed.
Yeah, but they do make it through to this ability cell. That is, of course, where the clip would have taken them. And now they just have to follow IMRaziel's tracks, but again, not doing that clip is more time.
Yeah, and looks like IMRaziel is not gonna let Grove Swim cause any trouble. He makes it out beautifully, no problem. And looks like IMRaziel is still about 20 seconds ahead of PB. So yeah, we're gonna get an update on that. Maybe this is the run for IMRaziel.
This absolutely looks like it. This is an insane pace here. Just a few more sections of the game, just a few more cells.
Yep, and here's Glazer. Glazer killed IMRaziel in the last game, so we'll see if that causes any more trouble. Maybe IMRaziel will literally decide to rekindle, and Shed does... I don't know if Shed got the warp displacement, and oh, that barely misses it.
Not quite, so this is going to be some form of backup from Shed here, presumably the micro ledge. Looks like there's a mic there. Almost.
So close. Come on,
There's
Shed.
a micro ledge there that they're trying to get on so that they can charge a charge jump. There it is.
And there it is, nice. Meanwhile, it looks like IMRaziel had some more trouble with Glazer as in last game, so that's a little bit of time lost, but I'm afraid at this point it's just not enough for Shed to come back.
No, at this point, this is IMRaziel's race to lose. There's only 3 more cells to collect. 2 of them are right here, and 1 of them is in Horu at the end of the game.
Yeah, at this point we start asking how many Ganon falls.
It would take multiple failed clips on IMRaziel's part, I believe, in order to actually in order to give Shed a chance at coming back.
Yep, and here we go. We collected all but 1 cell for IMRaziel, and he's going to be doing the last warp displacement to Ginzo to save a little bit more time. Again, using the Glades teleporter as the hub for all warp displacements in this run. Standing on the edge of the platform. I don't know if that was good. Oh yeah, that was amazing from IMRaziel.
That was
Whoa,
one of the
placing them
best
right
warp
there.
placements that I've ever seen, actually.
That was absolutely incredible. I didn't even know you could do that.
Well, so it is possible to warp displace out of bounds there. That's something that I believe Luster had been doing, but I haven't really seen anyone incorporate that into actual runs.
I wonder if IMRaziel actually wanted to go for that. I don't know if IMRaziel normally does it in PB attempts, but since IMRaziel was on PB pace, maybe he decided to just go all in and go for everything to try to get a bigger PB. But here IMRaziel goes on the left, he's going to be falling down the Ginzo tree and making 3 Void saves with C dashes to get to Horu, and looks like he makes it no problem.
Yep, that is all of the cells collected for IMRaziel. He just has to get to the end of the game, and he's got really all the time in the world to do it to win the race. But I think at this point, he's got to be going for that PB.
Yeah, definitely. IMRaziel doesn't know the state of the race, so he's not going to start making safety strats by any means. He's going to go for everything, and here goes the first Terror Club from IMRaziel. This one a little bit finicky through the tree. And he was very good at that clip before, but looks like he missed it the first time.
He almost got it, but then didn't quite stop himself from voiding out in time. But that is good. Just has to get into the final escape. There's the save to stay voided out. And double dashing that fish out of the water. We're going to rocket jump off of it up through this final shaft with Kuro in it and into the final cutscene. The save anywhere is going to come down in just a few seconds, and he'll reload, and that is it for IMRaziel. IMRaziel wins.
Wow, very, 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 very strong performance here by IMRaziel. Very, very few mistakes throughout the whole length of the run. Just really well done. There's not more to say.
Yeah, a little bit of fireworks there from Sign from IMRaziel.
Yeah, unfortunately not quite a PB. And yeah, Shed stopping on the right.
Yeah, that was a really rough run from Shed. Just early game troubles that didn't ever really get fixed. Meanwhile, a near perfect run from IMRaziel.
Yeah, mistakes in Ori can kind of add up. You make one mistake and that causes another mistake. And yeah, IMRaziel pulling out another 39, another low 39. So all 3 races for IMRaziel were either a 38 or a very low 39. But then again, Shed's, even though they had some issues with this run, it's still pretty good pace. I mean, a lot of runners would wish to even come close to this time. So still very well done by Shed, but unfortunately too many mistakes.
Yeah, it's just a little bit too much when your opponent is on such a good pace and has been for all 3 races. But what this means is that IMRaziel will be moving on to the finals where he'll face off against Uncle Ronnie. And Uncle Ronnie is a whole different beast.
Yeah, Uncle Ronnie coming out with a low 37, I believe, a 37.20 yesterday, and a ridiculous time for anyone, so that is the new world record too. So IMRaziel is definitely going to show his best, and even then, it will be very, very rough.
Yep, Shed getting a little bit of a cutscene there, not sure if that was intentional or not, showing us the main room of Horu. As Ori looks around, Fallen Rock. Of course, we didn't enter Horu the main way.
Yeah, the game gets all sorts of confused with the ordering of cutscenes and such, so that causes some interesting behavior all over the place.
Alright. Looks like we are done with that race. Shed did decide to forfeit after Raz won. So, what did you think of that whole series? Have to ask.
I mean, that series was amazing. Game 1 and 2 were ridiculously close. Game 1 coming down to the final reload, Game 2 being only 12 seconds apart. Fortunately, in Game 3, Shed just made a bit too many mistakes, and IMRaziel was able to run away with the race, but regardless, the series, I think, was one of the best I've seen.
I absolutely have to agree. I think that it sort of came down to that early game versus late game, whereas we saw that in the first 2 races, Shed was able to pull out that lead, and then in the 3rd race, it just didn't happen.
Yeah, a couple deaths in the early game can be really costly.
Yep. So, the finals will be played on Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So, I know Raziel has a couple days to practice before that. It looks like we are going to be getting him in for an interview in just a minute here as well. I definitely want to ask some things about all of that.
Yeah, certainly. So yeah, so it looks like we're going to be getting Raziel for an interview here shortly.
All right. So, I think, let's see. Hey, Raziel.
Yo.
Congrats. 2-1. How are you feeling?
Nervous, like super nervous. I was so nervous at the end of. I knew I was in a great pace, and I wasn't watching the stream. I knew I was in a great pace, and that. I mean, given the fact that I was in a low 38 pace, I had a good chance to win. And then on the last like 3 splits, I was just so nervous. I on the clip to Horu from Ginsu to Horu, I actually forgot if I should clip with charge dash or just with dash. You know, the mechanics that you usually don't even have to think. Everything just went away. But yeah, I'm nervous, and I'm actually happy and a bit surprised that I was able to win this.
Yeah, well, the tradition continues. You will be moving on to the finals, so this will be yet another tournament that you either win or lose to the eventual winner.
That's true. That's actually quite impressive. It's like, I don't know, maybe like 7 or 8 tournaments that has happened.
Yeah, it's quite something. Are you looking forward to Ronnie? What do you think of that matchup?
I'm gonna get destroyed. I just hope that I don't get destroyed like 3-0 and that the games are actually somehow entertaining.
Well, this last set certainly was entertaining. We had 2 incredibly close races. I know you weren't watching the restream, and you said you weren't really maybe expecting to come out on top in the series. So, like, how did you feel after game 1, after taking that?
Yeah, I haven't been really practicing a lot. I know that I can get a low 38, possibly a 37 with a really good run, but I haven't been practicing a lot. So, and I know that, I mean, Shed is extremely good. I wasn't watching the stream, but I understood that the first game was like really super close, and I PB'd on that first game, and I had a really bad early game. My late game was just perfect. So I knew that basically I had a huge comeback on that race. And then afterwards I watched the restream from both race 1 and race 2, and yeah, that those 2 races, I have to say this entire series was one of the most fun that I've ever played in any tournament, for sure.
Awesome.
I think it was also one of the most fun I had commentating any match. That was absolutely incredible for those games.
Yeah, it really was. So coming into game 3, Raziel, were there sort of anything that you took differently, that you approached differently, knowing that it was 1-1, knowing what you had seen after having watched game 1 and 2?
Not really about having watched game 1 and 2. I just kind of, so I did one practice race yesterday and another one today, and I was just trying to go like super fast, and then I was missing inputs because I was, I don't know, pressing jump too early or pressing charge dash too early. And after that practice run that I did today, I just thought, okay, you know what, I know that if I just go on my own pace, I mean, it's better. I just thought, okay, it's better to go on my own pace, try to just not make major mistakes, and even if Shed wins because he has a great run, so be it. I mean, then he deserves it. Um, so I just really tried to calm myself down, and I think I was calm, really until almost the end when I noticed that I was in a really really good pace. Um, so that was basically my game plan for the race today.
Awesome. Do you think that there's going to be any preparation that you do for Ronnie on Sunday?
Do you think there's any preparation that I can do except then that I don't know, rather than just mentally prepare myself to get completely bashed by Ronnie and lose in a 3-0. I mean, I don't know. In the All Skills tournament, I faced Ronnie as well, and I think Ronnie is even more scary in all skills, to be honest, because in all cells, I mean, there's always something that can go wrong. And I was able to take one game out of Ronnie. I think I was actually the only one who was able to take one game out of Ronnie in the entire tournament. So I guess I can do the same. I don't expect to win, but as I said, as long as the finals is entertaining to watch, I'll be happy with it.
All right. Well, I am certainly looking forward to that matchup. I'm sure plenty of others are as well. Of course, that will again be happening at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Sunday, April 14th. And if you have enjoyed these races, definitely tune into those finals.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a great matchup. And yeah, congratulations again, Raziel. That was nasty. That was amazing.
Thank you, and GG to Shed. He played absolutely amazing also.
All right, and so with that, that is going to do it for us. I've been Rory Rai. Athos, it's been a pleasure. We will see you all on Sunday.
Yep, and I want to take this minute to thank our truck, Hydra and Night Fighter, giving us all this useful information, and Meldon for restreaming.
All
And
right.
tune in Sunday for another great matchup.